In my 35 years on the bench here in Providence, Rhode Island, I've seen thousands of young people come through these courtroom doors, some defiant, some scared, some just confused about how they ended up before a judge. But every once in a while, someone walks in who makes me stop and really pay attention. This was one of those mornings. A 15-year-old boy named Marcus stood before me, and what happened next, the words that came out of his mouth, the maturity he displayed, it shocked everyone in that courtroom, including me. If this story touches your heart, I want you to hit that subscribe button because these are the moments that remind me why I do this work. Let me tell you what happened, because I'm still thinking about it weeks later. It was a Tuesday morning, and I'd already handled about a dozen cases, parking tickets mostly, some traffic violations, the usual business of municipal court. My court officer brought in the next file, and I glanced down at the paperwork. Marcus Johnson, age 15. The charge was shoplifting from a local convenience store. Value of stolen items, $43. Cigarettes and energy drinks. I looked up as the bailiff brought him in, and I saw a tall, thin young man walking toward the bench with his head down. His mother was with him, a woman who looked exhausted in a way that went deeper than just one sleepless night. She wore hospital scrubs, and I noticed the identification badge still clipped to her collar. She'd probably come straight from a shift. I've been doing this long enough to read people pretty quickly. Marcus wasn't a hardened criminal. I could see it in the way he kept his eyes down, not out of disrespect, but out of shame. That's different. That tells me something important. Before I tell you what happened next, do me a favor. Hit that like button if you believe young people deserve a chance to explain themselves. I always try to give them that opportunity. Marcus, I said, looking at him over my glasses, let me ask you something. Do you understand why you're here today? He nodded, still not meeting my eyes. Yes, sir. Look at me, son, I said, keeping my voice gentle but firm. I've learned over the years that sometimes young people just need someone to speak to them with respect, to treat them like they matter. He raised his eyes slowly, and I saw something there that caught my attention. Intelligence, fear, and something else. Disappointment in himself. Tell me what happened. I want to hear it from you. He swallowed hard, and I watched his hands grip the edge of the podium. Judge Caprio, he began, and his voice cracked a little. I took cigarettes and Red Bulls from Mr. Patterson's store on Broad Street. It was wrong. There's no excuse for it. I leaned forward. Simple confession, no excuses, no blaming anyone else. At 15, that's unusual. Why did you do it? I asked. Marcus glanced at his mother, who was standing beside him with tears already forming in her eyes. She reached out and squeezed his shoulder. I wanted to look cool in front of some older kids, he said quietly. They were shoplifting, and they called me soft when I said I didn't want to. So I did it to prove them wrong. But I was wrong, Your Honor. I was really wrong. The courtroom was absolutely silent. Inspector Quinn, who's been with me for years and has heard every story imaginable, raised his eyebrows. I could feel the shift in the room. This wasn't going how anyone expected. How long after you took those items did you return to the store? I asked, looking at the police report in front of me. About 2 hours, sir, Marcus said. I went home, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. My mom raised me better than that. My grandma raised her better than that. We don't steal. That's not who we are. His voice got stronger as he spoke. So I went back. I brought the cigarettes and the drinks back, still in the bag, and I tried to give them to Mr. Patterson, but he'd already called the police, and they were there. I looked at his mother. Ma'am, did you know he'd taken these items? She shook her head, and a tear ran down her cheek. No, Your Honor. I was at work. I'm a nurse at Rhode Island Hospital. I work double shifts most weeks to keep us going. Marcus is a good boy. He's on the honor roll at his school. This isn't him. Something in my chest tightened. I thought about my own father, who came to this country from Italy with nothing, who worked himself to exhaustion to provide for us. I thought about my mother, who cleaned houses and never complained. Immigrant values. You work hard, you're honest, you do the right thing. This family had those same values. I could see it, but I could also see the pressure this young man was under, trying to navigate a world where being cool sometimes means betraying everything your family taught you. Marcus, I said, let me tell you something. In 35 years, I've had thousands of young people stand where you're standing. Very few of them do what you did. Very few of them return what they took. Very few of them take responsibility without making excuses. I paused, letting that sink in. That tells me something important about your character. I saw his shoulders relax just slightly, but I wasn't finished. Before I continue with what happened next, leave a comment below and tell me, what would you do if you were in my position? This is where being a judge becomes more than just applying the law. It's about understanding human nature, especially in young people who still have their whole lives ahead of them. The prosecutor, a young woman named Sarah, who's smart and fair, stood up. Your Honor, given the defendant's age, his lack of prior record, and the fact that he returned the merchandise, the state would be amenable to a creative disposition. I nodded. I appreciated that, but I needed to understand more. Marcus, tell me about school. Your mother says you're on the honor roll? Yes, sir, he said, and for the first time I saw a hint of pride in his face. I have a 3.8 GPA. I want to go to college. I want to be an engineer, maybe, or work with computers. I'm good at math. What happened with these older kids? Are they students at your school? No, sir. They're guys from the neighborhood. I usually avoid them, but that day I was walking home and they started talking to me and I wanted them to think I was cool, I guess. It was stupid. It was stupid, I agreed, and I saw him flinch a little. But let me ask you something else. When you were walking home with those stolen items, what were you feeling? He thought about that for a moment. This is what I do. I ask questions that make people really think, that make them confront what's going on inside. I felt sick, he said finally. My stomach hurt. I kept thinking about my mom, about how disappointed she'd be, about my grandma who always tells me that our name means something, that our reputation is all we have. And that's why you went back? Yes, sir. I couldn't live with it. I couldn't face my mom at dinner knowing I'd stolen something. Even if she never found out, I would know. That's not who I want to be. I had to pause for a moment. I felt my throat tighten. This young man, at 15, understood something that many adults never learn. That character is what you do when nobody's watching. That integrity means living up to your own standards even when it's hard. God bless you, Marcus, I thought. Somebody raised you right. But then Marcus did something that absolutely shocked me and everyone else in that courtroom. He cleared his throat and said, Your Honor, before you decide what to do, I need to say something else. I nodded. Go ahead. I want to apologize, he said, and his voice got very steady and clear. Not just for taking the stuff, but for breaking the trust of my community. Mr. Patterson has owned that store for 20 years. My mom buys our groceries there. He knows us. He's always nice to us, always asks how I'm doing in school, and I stole from him. I betrayed that trust. I want to apologize to him. Is he here? I looked at my court officer who checked the witness list and nodded. Mr. Patterson is here, Your Honor. He's in the hallway. Bring him in, please, I said. I wanted to see where this was going. In all my years, I'd never had a 15-year-old ask to apologize to their victim in open court. Usually, I have to drag remorse out of people, or it comes out sounding rehearsed, like something their lawyer told them to say. This was different. This was real. Mr. Patterson walked in, a gray-haired man in his 60s with kind eyes. He looked at Marcus and his mother, and I saw his expression soften. He knew them, just like Marcus had said. This wasn't some stranger. This was a member of their community. Mr. Patterson, I said, Marcus has something he wants to say to you. Are you willing to listen? Of course, Your Honor, he said in a thick accent. Greek, I thought, or maybe Armenian. Another immigrant family like mine. Another family built on hard work and trust. Marcus turned to face him directly. If you're moved by what you're seeing here, share this video with someone who needs to see that young people can surprise us with their integrity. Share it with a teacher, a parent, a young person who's struggling. These stories matter. Now watch what happened next. Mr. Patterson, Marcus said, and his voice cracked with emotion. I'm so sorry for what I did. You've always been kind to me and my family. You've never treated us with anything but respect. And I disrespected you. I stole from you. I broke your trust, and I broke the trust of everyone in our neighborhood who depends on your store. Tears were running down his face now, but he kept going. I know sorry isn't enough. I know I have to earn back your trust if that's even possible. But I want you to know that I'm ashamed of what I did, and I promise you it will never happen again. I'm not that person. That was the worst decision I've ever made, and I'm going to spend a long time making up for it. The courtroom was absolutely silent. I looked at Mr. Patterson and saw that he was wiping his eyes. I looked at Marcus's mother, who was sobbing quietly. I looked at Inspector Quinn, who was nodding slowly with a look on his face that said, This kid gets it. I felt my own eyes getting wet. After 35 years, I can usually keep my composure, but this was something special. This was a 15-year-old boy showing more maturity, more genuine remorse, more understanding of moral responsibility than most adults I see. Mr. Patterson walked over to Marcus. For a moment, I wasn't sure what he was going to do. Then he put his hand on the boy's shoulder. I forgive you, he said simply. I saw you on the security camera take those items, and yes, I was angry. I called the police because stealing is wrong and there have to be consequences. But then I saw you come back. I saw you try to return everything. I saw the look on your face. I knew you understood what you'd done." He paused, his hand still on Marcus's shoulder. "You're a good boy. You made a mistake. We all make mistakes. What matters is what you do after. You did the right thing." Marcus looked up at him, tears streaming down his face. "Thank you, sir. Thank you so much." I had to take a moment. I removed my glasses and rubbed my eyes. In my 35 years on this bench, I'd seen a lot of emotional moments, but this was something else. This was genuine human connection, genuine forgiveness, genuine growth happening right in front of me. This is why I do this work, my friends. This is why, even after all these years, even after my health scares, even when I'm tired, I keep coming to this courtroom. Because sometimes, just sometimes, you get to witness something beautiful. Something that restores your faith in people. Before I tell you what I decided to do, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. These stories from my courtroom in Providence, they're real, they're powerful, and they remind us all that justice isn't just about punishment. It's about understanding, growth, and second chances. Now let me tell you what happened next. I looked at Marcus and his mother, then at Mr. Patterson. "Let me tell you all something," I said. "The law says that shoplifting is a crime and there have to be consequences. Marcus, you committed a crime. You took something that didn't belong to you. The fact that you returned it doesn't erase that. Do you understand?" "Yes, Your Honor," Marcus said firmly. "But," I continued, "the law also allows judges to use discretion, to look at the whole picture, to consider not just what someone did, but who they are and what they've done to make it right. Marcus, you showed extraordinary character by returning those items. You showed even more character by coming here today and taking full responsibility. And you showed the most character by asking to apologize to Mr. Patterson in person, in public, knowing that it would be difficult and emotional. I looked at the paperwork in front of me, but honestly, I'd already made my decision. When you've been doing this as long as I have, you learn to trust your instincts about people. Every once in a while, you meet someone who genuinely gets it, who doesn't need to be taught a harsh lesson because they've already learned it themselves. Marcus was one of those people. "Here's what I'm going to do," I said. "Marcus, I'm going to place you on probation for 6 months. During that time, you're going to perform 50 hours of community service, but I'm going to let you choose where you do it. I want you to think about what you've learned from this experience and find a way to give back to the community you disappointed. Maybe you volunteer at Mr. Patterson's store, helping him stock shelves. Maybe you tutor younger kids in math since you're so good at it. Maybe you volunteer at the community center. You decide. You show me that you understand that being part of a community means contributing to it, not taking from it." Marcus nodded vigorously. "Yes, sir. Thank you, sir." "I'm not finished," I said, and I let a small smile cross my face. "I'm also going to require you to write me a letter in 6 months. I want you to tell me what you learned from this experience. I want you to tell me about the community service you did and how it made you feel. I want you to tell me about your grades, because I expect that 3.8 to stay right where it is or go higher. Can you do that?" "Yes, Your Honor, I promise." I looked at his mother, who was crying tears of relief now. "Ma'am, you're doing a wonderful job raising this young man. I know it's not easy, working those long shifts, trying to be both parents in one, but you're raising him with the right values. Don't ever doubt that. He made a mistake, but he made it right. That's all we can ask of anyone." She couldn't speak, just nodded and mouthed "thank you" over and over. Then I turned to Mr. Patterson. "Sir, thank you for being here today. Thank you for your willingness to forgive. That takes courage, and it sets a powerful example. Our communities need more people like you, people who believe in second chances, who understand that young people are still learning, still growing." "Thank you, Your Honor," he said. "I hope Marcus comes to work in my store. I could use a smart young man like him on Saturday mornings." Marcus's face lit up. "Really, sir? You'd let me work there after what I did?" "That's what forgiveness means," Mr. Patterson said. "We move forward. You work hard. You prove yourself. You earn back trust. That's how life works." I banged my gavel, but gently. "Case closed. Marcus, I want to see that letter in 6 months, and I want to hear good things about you. Take care of yourself. God bless you." As they were leaving, Marcus turned back to me. "Judge Caprio," he said, "thank you for listening to me. Thank you for giving me a chance. I won't let you down." "I know you won't, son," I said. "I can see it in your eyes. You're going to do great things. Just remember this feeling. Remember how hard it was to stand here today, to admit what you did wrong, to apologize. Remember it, and let it guide you when you face other difficult choices in life, because there will be other difficult choices. That's part of growing up. But if you always choose honesty, if you always choose integrity, you'll be fine. Your grandmother is right. Your name means something. Make sure it means something good." After they left, Inspector Quinn came up to the bench. "Judge, in all my years working in this court, I've never seen anything like that. That kid really gets it." He does, Quinn, I said. He really does. You know what the difference is? His family. His mother working herself to exhaustion to provide for him. His grandmother teaching him about integrity and reputation. That's what makes the difference. Kids don't go bad in a vacuum. They go bad when nobody cares, when nobody teaches them right from wrong, when they don't have anyone to disappoint. Marcus has people who love him, who expect better from him. That's everything. If you're still watching this, leave me a comment and tell me what you thought of Marcus's apology. Have you ever had to apologize for something difficult? How did it feel? Let's talk about it in the comments, because these conversations matter. They help us all grow. And hit that like button if this story moved you. It helps more people see these powerful moments from my courtroom. About 3 months later, I got a letter. It wasn't the required 6-month letter. That would come later. This was something else. It was from Marcus's principal at his high school. She wrote to tell me that Marcus had started a program at the school called Second Chance Club. It was a peer mentoring program where students who'd made mistakes could come together, talk about what they'd learned, and support each other in making better choices. Marcus had recruited 25 students in the first month. He was teaching them what he'd learned, that making a mistake doesn't define you, but how you respond to it does. The principal wrote, "Judge Caprio, I don't know what you said to Marcus in your courtroom, but it transformed him. He's become a leader in our school. He's openly talked about his shoplifting arrest, his appearance before you, and what he learned from the experience. He's helping other students understand that they can learn from their mistakes rather than being destroyed by them. You gave him a second chance, and he's using it to give second chances to others." I had to stop reading for a moment. My eyes got wet again. This is what justice can be when we do it right. It's not just about punishment, it's about transformation. It's about helping people become the best version of themselves. That's what my parents taught me. That's what my Italian immigrant family believed. Everyone deserves dignity. Everyone deserves a chance to make things right. Everyone has value. 6 months later, exactly on time, I got the letter I'd requested. Marcus wrote about his community service. He'd ended up doing all 50 hours at Mr. Patterson's store and then kept volunteering beyond the requirement because he enjoyed it. He wrote about his grades. His 3.8 had become a 3.9. He wrote about the Second Chance Club and how it had grown to over 60 members. He wrote about applying to colleges and how he wanted to study computer science so he could eventually start a technology company that would employ people from struggling communities like his own, giving them opportunities they might not otherwise have. But the part that really got me was at the end. He wrote, "Judge Caprio, when I stood in your courtroom that day, I was terrified. I thought my life was over. I thought I'd ruined everything. But you saw something in me that I didn't see in myself yet. You saw that I was more than my worst mistake. You gave me a chance to prove it. I think about that day every time I face a hard decision. I think about my mom crying, about Mr. Patterson forgiving me, about you trusting me. I think about how many people believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. I'm going to spend the rest of my life being worthy of that belief. Thank you for changing my life." I sat in my chambers and read that letter 3 times. Then I called him. I wanted to hear his voice, to tell him how proud I was, to encourage him to keep going. We talked for 20 minutes. He told me he'd been accepted to several colleges with scholarship offers. He told me the Second Chance Club was expanding to other schools in Providence. He told me he still worked at Mr. Patterson's store every Saturday, and that Mr. Patterson had become like a grandfather to him, teaching him about business and life. "Marcus," I told him, "you did this, not me. I just gave you a chance. You're the one who did the hard work of changing, growing, becoming a leader. I'm proud of you, son. Your mother should be proud. Your whole community should be proud. You took your worst moment and turned it into your defining moment. That's remarkable." Share this video with a young person in your life who needs to hear this message. Share it with a parent who's struggling to raise teenagers in a difficult world. Share it with anyone who believes in redemption and second chances. These stories have power. They remind us what's possible when we treat people with dignity and compassion. Now let me tell you why this case has stayed with me months later. Marcus's case taught me something, even after 35 years on the bench. It taught me that young people are watching us, listening to us, learning from us in ways we don't always realize. When we treat them with respect, when we give them a chance to explain themselves, when we hold them accountable while also believing in their potential, they rise to meet our expectations. But when we write them off, when we treat them like they're beyond redemption, when we focus only on punishment without any faith in their ability to change, we lose them. I think about all the young people who've stood before me over the decades. Some of them ended up in serious trouble later. Some of them I'd see again and again, caught in cycles of bad decisions. But some of them turned their lives around. Some of them took that second chance and ran with it. The difference, I've learned, isn't always about the severity of what they did. It's about whether they had someone who believed in them, who expected better from them, who gave them a reason to change. Marcus had his mother, working those double shifts and teaching him by example what hard work and integrity look like. He had his grandmother teaching him that reputation matters, that your name means something. He had Mr. Patterson showing him what forgiveness looks like. And maybe in some small way he had me, an old judge in Providence who's learned over 35 years that people are usually better than their worst moments if we give them the chance to show it. My father came to America from Italy with nothing but determination and hope. He faced discrimination, he struggled, but people gave him chances. Employers who hired him despite his accent, neighbors who befriended him despite his being different, a community that eventually embraced him and our family. He never forgot that. He taught us that we have an obligation to extend the same grace to others that was extended to us. That's what I try to do in this courtroom every single day. Before I finish this story, I want you to do something for me. Subscribe to this channel if you believe in the kind of justice that builds people up rather than just tearing them down. Subscribe if you want to see more stories from my courtroom here in Providence, stories that remind us of our shared humanity. And leave a comment telling me who believed in you when you needed it most, who gave you a second chance. Let's celebrate those people because they're the ones who make our communities stronger. The last thing I want to tell you is that Marcus graduated high school this year with honors. He's heading to Brown University right here in Providence on a full scholarship to study computer science. Mr. Patterson closed his store for 2 hours to attend the graduation ceremony. Marcus's mother was there, of course, crying tears of joy, and they invited me. I sat in that auditorium and watched Marcus walk across that stage, watched him accept his diploma and his scholarship award, and I thought about that scared 15-year-old boy who stood in my courtroom and took responsibility for his mistake. I thought about his courage in asking to apologize, his maturity in understanding what he'd done wrong, his determination to make it right. After the ceremony, Marcus found me in the crowd. He was wearing his cap and gown, and he had the biggest smile on his face. "Judge Caprio," he said, "I wanted you to know that I carried your words with me every day. You're more than your worst mistake." That became my motto. That's what I tell the kids in the Second Chance Club. That's what I believe now. Thank you for seeing me, really seeing me that day. I hugged him. What else could I do? This young man had taken the worst day of his young life and transformed it into the foundation for something beautiful. He'd learned from his mistake. He'd grown from it. He'd used it to help others. That's all we can ask of anyone, young or old. That's the best version of justice, the kind that transforms rather than just punishes, that builds up rather than just tears down, that sees the person behind the mistake and calls them to be better. So my friends, let me ask you something. What am I going to do when young people like Marcus come before me? Am I going to throw the book at them and send them away feeling worthless and hopeless? Or am I going to hold them accountable while also believing in their potential, giving them a chance to prove they're better than their worst moment? For me, the answer is clear. I'm going to do what I've always done, treat people the way I'd want to be treated, give them the dignity and respect they deserve, and trust that most people, when given the chance, will rise to the occasion. Marcus did, and I believe there are thousands of other young people out there just waiting for someone to believe in them, to give them a chance, to see past their mistakes to the potential underneath. That's what we should all be doing for each other, seeing the best in people, even when they've shown us their worst. God bless you all. Take care of yourselves. And remember, one moment of compassion, one chance given, one person believed in, it can change a life. It can change the world. Tell me in the comments what you would have done in my position, and stay tuned because next week I'm going to share another story from my courtroom that will touch your heart in ways you won't expect.